Exactly. While we're talking about standards, Donald Trump, of course, is setting a standard over in the US at the moment. Gee, hasn't he been going hell for leather in the last few days? He's now saying, well, last few weeks, I should say, he is now saying that Cuba will not be getting any oil from Venezuela because they were the major supplier, of course, of oil to Cuba. And Trump has now taken over the joint. So he says unless Cuba comes on board and does a deal with the US, we don't actually know what that means. He's just said do a deal, so, we'll see what happens in the future. But unless you do a deal with the US, there will be no more oil for you. You can imagine how the communist country of Cuba has responded to that. And so Donald Trump has now suggested that maybe the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, could be sent in to run the joint. Someone suggested this on his Truth Social platform, and Trump said in response, "Sounds good to me." So God knows what might happen in the next couple of weeks. He's gone after Venezuela. Maybe he'll go after Cuba next. But it's interesting now. Well, it's obvious why he has done this, and Trump has not hidden that it gives him global leverage to have control of all those resources in Venezuela, and he's starting to do with it what he wanted to do.
Well, and you've got to remember that Cuba and Venezuela are very closely aligned. There were around 32 Cubans that were actually killed when they went in to get the Venezuelan president. So there was armed forces and security and intelligence people there from Cuba. So there's a very close relationship between Cuba and Venezuela. I don't know if we've got the meme, but there was a great one going around last week of Marco Rubio, and he sort of had this quite dejected look on his face, but it said that feeling you get when you realise you could be the president of Venezuela, the governor of Cuba and the new Shah of Iran. But it's certainly very, very busy on the geopolitical front. Yeah. Marco Rubio seems to be being put forward as the name that can save it all. So he may have more jobs than he knows what to do with soon. But I think, we're seeing some really interesting times that are happening, and Cuba has been a real thorn in the side. The Americans, when you go back to the Cuban Missile Crisis and Kennedy's days, you just never know where this could end up with Trump.
And attacking the US is a very 1950s play, isn't it? It's all the bad guys, America, it's all their fault type thing. Whereas, we're talking about a regime that's survived on subsidies and favours for so many years, and Trump's just gone, no more.
The one thing I do like about Cuba, not many things I like about Cuba, but, necessity is the mother of invention, and the fact they've kept all those 1950s Chevys and Cadillacs and things alive is pretty extraordinary. Couldn't build a car today, I don't think, that would be able to survive and be repaired ad infinitum like that. You mentioned Iran, though, of course, that's the other big story that's been going on in the last few days. These protests that you would have seen in Iran, they want to overturn the Ayatollah, of course. Highly unlikely, but it is good to see a groundswell of people in Iran saying we don't want to live under this Islamic dictatorship anymore. But of course the regime has now responded not in kind. They have responded heavily. They cut off the internet so people couldn't get anything out of Iran on the weekend. We're only getting dribs and drabs of videos that are somehow making their way out of the country. 500 protesters have been killed. They're threatening people with the death penalty if they protest, and Donald Trump is not sitting back.
A meeting is being set up, but we may have to act because of what's happening before the meeting. But a meeting is being set up. Iran called, they want to negotiate.
We may have to act, presumably, is a threat of physical action, Louise.
I would think so. I don't think he's going to pull any punches on doing that either. Obviously, we'd rather not. But I think in this situation, Iran has crossed every conceivable red line and has done so on many occasions. And I think what's different and what's interesting to watch is these protests are massive. It's the biggest protest they've ever had. So clearly he's emboldened to take the action which the rest of the Western world wants him to do.
And you have to think too how the Shah of Iran is really a dictator in the way the treatment of women and what's been allowed to occur under this regime. But it's interesting, there's no protests for the 500 Iranians who were believed to have been shot over the weekend, and that these professional protesters we have out there supporting Palestine every weekend don't seem to have the same care or concern about the Iranian people and whether or not they will be freed from this dictatorial regime.
Indeed. The Iranian Crown Prince has had some thoughts on all of this.
Your words of solidarity with the Iranian people and your administration has had tremendous positive effect. Let's hope that we can permanently seal this legacy by liberating Iran so that we and you can make Iran great again. Let's partner on this and have a better future for our countries and for our people.
Make Iran great again.
Isn't it fabulous?
How good is that?
Very mega.
It's amazing when you look at Iran before the regime took over. Women in mini skirts.
I know.
And, like, you know, when
Studying at
Persia,
university.
Yeah, the freedoms that we take for granted.
I know.
Right.
It is incredible to think what has been done to that country. And those men and women who are standing up in Iran and protesting, literally putting their lives on the line to fight for freedom, they are brave people. They are seriously brave people. And, of course, it would be impossible to get anyone out of Iran at the moment, but if there was any way to get them out, I'd say they're exactly the sort of people I want in my country right now, because they will fight to the death to get the rights that they deserve.